We wake up every day and we face growth. And it's up to us individually on how we react and how we execute to that growth. What's up, everybody? I'm Austin, and welcome to the Growth Encounter, where we talk to ordinary people living extraordinary lives in their faith, their family, their community, and businesses. Let's get it. What's up, everybody? My name's Austin Montgomery. Welcome to the Growth Encounter. Today, I have the pleasure of having one of my really good, closest friends on today. His name is Keith Gause. Keith, thank you for coming on today. If you would, just share a little bit about who you are, where you're from, what you do. Give us the quick intro.
Yeah, man, thanks. Pleasure to be here. Keith Gause, out of Jacksonville, Florida. Born in Houston, Texas, but really grew up here in Florida. A little bit of background about me. Married to Deanna. We've got two daughters, Addison and Kylie, 13 and 10. I own Tideland Consulting, and we really just consult for growth-oriented entrepreneurs across the country and a multitude of different assets there. So it's a little bit of who I am. Glad to be here. I don't know, this is 2, 3, 4 months in the making, so just glad we can make it happen.
I know it's, we talk about it, and then life either usually gets in the way or kids, like last time, kids got in the way. And we didn't get to do it.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. That was it was a good attempt. And a lot of people commented on not being able to see your daughter, but could clearly hear her through the live that we tried to do.
Yeah, that was fun. It was fun. Anyway, so we won't hold it against you that you were born in Texas and then transplanted to Florida, but that's okay. We're still going to consider
Well, I can't. I'm trying to get back.
If
anyone can talk to my oldest daughter, then we might have a chance, but currently she is not moving.
I bet if we said, hey, you can babysit Leighton every day, she probably would.
I told her I would buy her a kennel.
And a cat.
So she could have all the dogs and animals that she wanted.
Yeah.
No, a dog kennel. My aunt owns a pretty big one out there. And
oh, nice.
I was like, maybe I could buy that and she could retire and the kids could handle that and the wife could have a job there, and it didn't work. I even offered horses. Didn't work.
Wow. Didn't work, man.
Yeah.
Well, that's part of it. She's got her mindset. She's probably hard-headed like her daddy. So, anyway, so speaking of kids, tell us about your childhood. Where did your life start? I know you said you were born in Houston. Did you grow up there very long? What prompted you to move to Florida?
I think I was born in 82. We moved to Florida in 84. So I think it was just shy of the second birthday, maybe just after.
Yeah, so you don't
me
even
and my
remember.
Dad. No. I mean, I remember a bit of it, but just and not prior to that time. But I've got aunts and uncles and other family that still live in Texas. So I would do school through the year here, and then in the summertime I'd go to Texas and hang out.
Yeah.
So
did
kind of
you
grew up there a little bit, but not
Did
full
you
time.
grow up in Jacksonville?
Yeah, Jacksonville Beach. Went to school, went to high school. I don't know if they passed me just to get me out of there, or if I just got lucky. But graduated in 2000, went into the military in 2000, got out of Dodge.
Yeah.
Went to got attached to the 20th Special Operations Command in Fort Walton Beach, Florida, and spent time there. Obviously, 2001 happened, so I was deployed a bunch, and ultimately came home in 2005.
Gotcha. So let's backtrack just a minute. You said you graduated high school. Did you play any sports or anything?
No, I tried. I was a little fella.
A little fella.
When I graduated high school, I was probably 130 pounds.
Wow.
And when I graduated boot camp, I was probably 128 pounds.
Yeah.
So sports and broken bones don't go well together.
Yeah, little fellas in sports don't go along unless you're playing like ping pong or something, or gymnastics.
Golf. Yeah, I played golf pretty well.
Yeah. So let's you went into the military real quick. Let's talk about that. What made you decide to go into the military? What prompted you to? How'd that journey start?
I mean, basically, my dad was just like, dude, you got to get out of here. and he stayed on my ass to leave. Just the people I was hanging out with, I wasn't doing shit. I was working for my dad part time, kind of when I wanted to. He owned a
Hmm.
plumbing company, so my fallback, in my mind at that point was like, oh, I'll just run the company.
Yeah.
Clearly didn't know anything about anything, and so just after listening to my dad tell me to get out of here and talking to some people, I don't know. I just decided to leave. Chose the Air Force. Really, initially, I chose the Air Force because it had the shortest boot camp, and I didn't want to deal with being in boot camp for 4 months. And they were like, "Yeah, ours is like 12 weeks or whatever it was." I'm like, "Deal, sign me up."
Yeah.
So did that. Got bored and with traditional military stuff. Got involved in the 20th Special Operations Command and deployed, which was great. And I think that the military is really where I got my ass kicked. Right. I mean
Yeah.
that was the shift.
Okay.
Because coming up through middle school, high school, conversations were different in my circle. It was like, hey, the waves are good. Do you want to go smoke some weed and go surfing, or do
Yeah.
you want to go to school?
Yeah.
Well, no one wants to go to school.
Right.
So barely went to school, and just school wasn't my thing.
Yeah.
And until to this day, like CE classes and anything else involving sitting down in a classroom all day, I'm out.
Hmm.
Can't do it. So that's just me. I guess from ingrained, and it just hasn't gone away. So when I left, that was the pivotal moment of like, there's much more to life than Jacksonville Beach, Florida, and there's a
Hmm.
lot more people than who I hang out with.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I did my time there, and I guess I grew up a bit. And I came home. Um, I was gonna stay in, but that didn't work out. So I came home, worked for my dad naturally. Went back to the old. I am gonna take this thing over, so you
Yeah.
can retire. That didn't last. Working with family. Me, alpha male, dad, extreme alpha male, working together, not gonna happen.
Yeah.
So the dynamic wasn't there. I was missing some adrenaline in my life. Going from being deployed, overseas to coming back here and working at a plumbing company. And so I went back into the next best thing, and I went into law enforcement.
So you said you're missing some of that action in your life, and obviously being deployed. Like I don't want to say that that's to look over that, because I would say being deployed probably had some pivotal moments in your life. Being deployed, did you did you did you experience anything that was like life or death? Did you experience anything that was like, hey, I need to get my mind right, or what was it like being deployed? And was there any moments while you were there? Because I mean, obviously, being in the military and being deployed, you're going to have some things in your life that go like, oh crap, this is it, or oh crap, like I better do something.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to go into too much detail on a lot of that stuff, but being deployed in Afghanistan and Iraq and all the armpits of the world that
Yeah,
we were exposed to, every day there was a pivotal moment.
yeah,
Whether you're getting shot at, whether you're taking mortars, whether you're shooting at people, uh, planes crashing, whatever it might be. But I think even bigger than that, right? Because we get involved in that, and you volunteer to go into the military, right?
right,
And so guys that go into some of the special operations side of the world, it's what you sign up for. So to me, yeah, I mean, going through some of that stuff, dangerous shit, and all the whatever shootings and all that stuff that you experience, witness, or around, that's all pivotal. But I think you just lock in over there. It's different. You expect it to happen, right? I
yeah,
mean, these are all the things you train for. So when you go train, like that's the shit that you're wanting to happen.
right,
So yeah, there's a ton of pivotal moments. And I think for me though, the pivotal moments that I kind of extracted out of that were more of like witnessing what the rest of the world deals with,
hmm,
experiencing little kids literally taking a bath in sewage water because
yeah,
that's what they do, right?
yeah,
Experiencing where they live, literally shit put together with dried mud and hay,
yeah,
for concrete. So those were the moments for me that were the eye-opening moments. Like, man, these people are happy, and I'm over here bitching about something stupid. And so, we go through that, and I was still young, so it really didn't 100% click. But these are things that I reflect back on now as a 41-year-old man married with two kids. Like, these are times that have had impact and are currently shaping how I'm changing today.
Right.
And they still, there's still things that I carry forward that are, I'm like, man, this is in correlation to something that happened back then.
Yeah.
20 years ago.
Yeah. So you got back. Obviously, you went back and tried to do things with your dad. That didn't work out, and so you went to the next best thing, and that was law enforcement on the streets of Jacksonville, I would assume.
Yeah, I started in Clay County, which is where I lived at the time. It's a little bit. It was a little bit more country, a little less dangerous, a little less busy, if you will. Like, crime just wasn't that predominant. I mean, there were some sections of the county that were, but I got bored. The part of the town that I was working in, literally, it's like, the most exciting call was like, hey, Ralph's sheep got out again. Could you go wake him up and have him come get his animals?
Yeah.
Because I was working in a pretty country side of Clay County. It's like still dirt roads to this day. I know in Texas that's pretty normal, but
yeah.
around here it's not. So I did 2005. I was in the police academy and I got hired in Clay County, and I left there in 2009. Absolutely bored to death, and I went up to Jacksonville Sheriff's Office, which probably makes the news in your local cities pretty often with all the shootings and murders, and I think we're second in the country, or at least in the state for sure, per capita on murder rates.
Right.
So I signed up there, and they're like, they basically put you through another little basic training, and so you can learn their policies and procedures and things like that, even though I'd been on the street for 4 years. And they're like, hey, where do you want to work? And I'm like, well, put me in the most dangerous spot. Like, put me on the north side. That's where all the activity is. That's where I want to be. So that's where I was, north side, northwest Jacksonville.
Nice.
Working midnights, 6 p.m. to 6 a.m.
Wow.
That's great.
So you got to see all the excitement. They say nothing good.
Yeah, it was fun over there, man. Depends. We had a good time.
Yeah.
We had a good time.
Now, let's back that up a little bit. Were you married then?
Yeah. Yep. So we had Addison in 2009. So I had just moved over to JSO, and then we bought a house, and then Deanna had Addison April of 2009. So yeah, I had her shortly after, and then Kylie showed up, and I was still working midnights.
So that was like a quick transition of having a kid, moving to a new I'm not going to say unit, agency.
Yep.
How did y'all meet? You and your wife, how'd y'all meet? Was that long before?
Such a funny story.
Was it during military? Was it law enforcement?
No, we met in 2005.
Okay.
We met in 2005. It was like 3, I don't know. She says it was super early. I still swear it was like 3 a.m. But the part of town that I was working in, I was at the sheriff's office in Clay County then.
Oh, no.
The part of town I was working at that time wasn't really country. It was pretty much where I live now. It was a little part of town called Fleming Island. It's dead. Like, it's 3 o'clock in the morning. There's no one out. And me and my beat partner at that time, he was following me. We go to the spot where we used to kind of hide behind I think it was a food line back then. So we roll up into the parking lot, and there's a car with 2 chicks and a dude standing outside the car, and we roll up, and her friend had locked the keys in the car while the car was running.
Yeah.
So we try to, so stupid. She's going to kill me if she hears this. She's going to kill me. She's going to kill you too. So
it won't be the first and the last.
Her story is that she called the police over to unlock the car. Inaccurate. Absolutely inaccurate.
Okay.
So I'm sitting there talking to him. She's probably, 19, 18, super young, super short skirt, low cut shirt, looking, all dolled up. They had just went out to a party or something.
Yeah.
And here she comes talking trash, and just making some little side remarks, and it ended. I won't go into detail just for your audience there, but it ended with, "I'm going to make him my daddy." That's what she says she told her friend. And then she claims I tracked her friend down and gave her friend my phone number. And the true story is her friend came back a little later to that parking lot. It was like, "Oh, my friend would like your phone number." So here we are. I plucked her. I plucked her right out of Middleburg, Florida, and 20 years together. Here we are.
20 years together, man. Well,
Yeah,
congrats
something
on
like
that.
that. I don't know.
Y'all made it that long.
It's been forever.
Yeah, she's stuck with you. Oh, that's funny. So I thought that story was going to go a little bit differently when you first started it. 3 a.m. parking lot, all this different stuff. But hey, it's still a good story.
Yeah, and if you get her on here, her rendition will probably be 1,000% different. But one of us is honest, and one of us stretches the truth a little.
Yeah, that's typical. So you meet your wife. Y'all date for, I would assume, a couple years.
Like 4 years, 3 years, 4 years, get engaged.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you get ready to transfer an agency, and then you have your first child.
That's it. Jam packed. So I bought a house in January of 2009. I had just transitioned to JSO, and she had the baby in April.
Wow. How was that? Like, what was that? What was life like? Was she working at the time? I mean, what was life like being a new dad, married, a husband, having a new house, and going to a new job?
Well, I don't know if you know me or not, but if I do anything, it's usually at 3,000 miles an hour. So to me, old me, that was normal. So just, bull in the china shop. Mm-hmm. And I never really paid attention, man. I was always goal focused and like just driven based on what I know I needed to do to provide and to be.
Yeah.
She was working full time. I was working full time. I mean, I don't know if you know this, but as a law enforcement officer, you make $40,000 a year probably max, right, unless you work a bunch of overtime.
Right.
So, it was hard. It was exciting. It was hard. It was all the things as a new parent. But we made it work. Mm-hmm. And she was a hero, right? She worked all day, and then I go, I'm pretty much sleeping.
Yeah.
Right. And then I get up at like 2:00 in the afternoon, go to the gym, come home, get ready for work, and bolt. Then she's got the baby all night. She's got to go to work the next morning. She's not sleeping. But she was an absolute trooper. So she carried a lot of the weight, which was good. And then, we realized that shit sucked, and that wasn't what we wanted life to be. And I'd always had an entrepreneur spirit, just watching my dad, through childhood, continuously try to be his own, business and create an opportunity for himself so where he can not work for other people.
Right.
So I watched that growing up, and that became natural. Like the hustle, the failure, the knockdown, the get up, the struggle financially, the victories. I got to experience all that through him, which I think is a large part of why, like, big circle come back to now I'm an entrepreneur, right? And I've had multiple companies, and I've sold a couple, and now we're building an empire. And the lessons that I took as a kid parlayed into me, I think, being able to accelerate this learning curve.
Yeah.
Of actual business ownership.
Well, and it's probably one of those things that you didn't realize it at the time, the experience you were having, but being able to reflect on it now, it's like, all right, I went through this for a reason, and now I see where it's applying today.
I mean, right now, that is like the reality of where I exist. Because in the past, I don't know, call it 45 days, I really just kind of completely transitioned focus. Mm-hmm. And by virtue of that, it's allowed me to slow down and actually think of things in real time. I've never been the type to like sit, like something happened to me and me sit right in the moment and ponder, why the hell did this happen? Mm-hmm. I've always just took it as like, oh, that's normal, I guess. Keep going. I never really collected the thoughts of like trying to learn from the scenario or understand why certain things happen. I just kept running towards the goal.
Right.
Now, to your point, shit's happening on a daily basis. I'm like, damn, I can tie this back to something, boom, way back then. right? Learning curve.
Yeah.
Or something new comes up and I'm like, I sit back instead of just quickly reacting to it that I've been so, military and law enforcement, dude, that's all you know.
React.
Reaction time.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Right? Because if you don't react quick, you're dead. And so
Right.
I think just leaving high school and my first real world experience being in the military and just created what I thought life was and how you should carry yourself and how you should act and just the way shit happened. It just is what it was, right?
Right.
Well, dude, now I'm 41, 20 years later, I'm like, I've been wrong a long time.
Right.
This
Right.
shit sucks. So now
Yeah.
I'm going back and trying to relearn, even though I've probably forgotten a ton of shit that's happened. But now I can correlate things that are happening currently to shit that's happened in the past. And it's been helpful to kind of pause
Right.
and figure out what to do next instead of just, oh, I'm going through door one,
Right.
door two, and just quickly make a decision.
Yeah. So let's talk about that real quick because you obviously you get married, you're a new husband, you get a new house, you got a kid, kids, at a new agency. How long did you stay at that agency? You had that entrepreneurial spirit in you. How long did you stay at that agency until you started saying like, hey, I need to go this route. I want to start a new business. What was your next steps after that?
So in '09, when I was officially at JSO, we had Addison. Um, Shortly after we had her, man, I realized that I wasn't making enough money.
Yeah.
Shit was tight. It sucked. And I put two and two together and just realized I had a bunch of time based on our work schedule, which was really weird. It was like 4 days on, 4 days working, 4 days off, 5 days working, 5 days off. And then it repeated itself.
Okay.
And I was working 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. So I knew that I could try to figure out something to do during the day for a few hours to make some income. So initially it was just go work off duty, which was in a sense kind of self-employment, right? I was doing police work for private events.
Right.
When that kind of dried up and honestly, dude, you just get sick and tired of wearing a badge and a vest and a gun and all that shit every day. And so I just decided like, okay, I got to figure something else out. So an opportunity came about to purchase a bounce house company that truly was just the name and one piece of used a bounce house that was just, it was trash. I mean, it was old and just not really usable. But for whatever reason, it excited me, and the chips worked out in my favor. I went to the bank. I had never gotten a loan before, ever, aside from like a vehicle.
Right.
I applied for a new business loan of $20,000. I was making $36,500 at the time. Right? They gave me the damn loan. I didn't have shit for money in the bank.
Yeah.
I had shit for business credit. I didn't even have a business. Didn't have a business name, an LLC, or anything.
Yeah.
And instead of, and for to this day, not to today, but until recently, dude, I realized it was a personal loan.
Yeah.
And they'd always just called it a business loan. So I was always like jacked it, and I was like, dude, 23 or 22, however old I was at the time, I was like, I got a business loan.
Yeah.
So I paid $20,000 for a name, and the name was Bounce Around Jack's Party Rentals. So that thing was born in '09, and I ended up spending another $7,500 a few weeks later, and I bought 3 used inflatables, bounce houses.
Okay.
And then the very next week, we started renting them out. I think on my first weekend, I made $1,200 cash, and I was like, "Holy shit!"
Yeah.
I mean, that was my take-home check for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I made that shit in a weekend.
Yeah.
So I just got super addicted to the cash, and I was like, well, this is repeatable. So I started doing now what I know is called market research. Then what I knew, it was like, I'm just going to call all the bounce house companies that I can find and ask them how much they'll rent me a bounce house for, and that's what I'm going to make my prices off of.
Yeah.
So back then, I just thought I was being slick. Oh, no one's ever thought of this, so let me just call these people. But today I know it's called market research and development, right?
Right.
So I get a website, get all my prices. It's firing off. I am working my ass off. I'm going to the sheriff's office at 6 p.m. I'm getting off at 6. I come home, kiss the wife, kiss the kids, take them to daycare, and go right to the office and get to work.
Yeah.
Fast forward, 2012. We've got several hundred units. We've got several trucks on the road at a time. We're doing $200,000 and $300,000 a month in revenue. I'm still working the night shift at the sheriff's office and coming and running this multi-million-dollar company during the day.
Yeah.
And back then, I had no clue what the hell I was doing.
Yeah.
None. Zero. I was able to string together, some consecutive really good decisions, and it worked out. So cash flow was ridiculous. It provided an opportunity for me to leave the sheriff's office. So I did. And then maybe 6 months later, I sold it.
Nice.
That was in 2012.
Was
I
it
think it was
just
2012.
was you just got a good offer for somebody to buy it, or was
Yeah,
it like,
well,
hey,
it
I need to
just
move on?
so here's another learning curve mistake. I took on a business partner after being successful because I got greedy.
Yeah.
So I took on a business partner who I'd known my entire life, who I do not talk to anymore, who basically stole the entire company out from under me. It was a 7-figure exit, and I didn't get paid all my money.
Yeah.
Right? I got paid some, but I still, there's about 7 figures probably floating out in the stratosphere that I'll never see.
Yeah.
But karma. Karma works in mysterious ways, and
Absolutely.
he recently got dished a nice dose of karma. He was an attorney. I won't go into too much detail because whatever, but he was an attorney here locally, and there's some things that happened here recently that karma served a dish.
Absolutely.
But long story short is this: I got greedy. I took on a business partner. I absolutely couldn't stand working with him, so I basically gave the company away.
Yeah.
I owner financed a big portion of it. Right, in that time, clearly didn't even know what the term owner finance was. Again, novice. Right, not very smart in this business thing. And then that was really history. I got a little bit up front, and then I never got another payment.
Right.
Ended up having to try to sue him. That didn't work. I got sued by Regions Bank, who we had a loan with at that time, who apparently I was a personal guarantor. Another learning lesson: don't ever sign personal guarantees and loans. And I had to end up paying I think it was like $68,000 to get rid of this business.
Wow.
So that was those were all the lumps that I had taken in the bounce house company, and that's looking back now, I'm grateful.
Yeah.
I probably would never be in the business that I'm in without it.
Yeah. So, you now hit it's like you're on this climb, right? And you're coming up this hill and you're like steady going, steady growth. And you're about to get to a plateau and it's like, bam, now you fall off the face of it. Did it make you feel like you just fell back down here? Like it was a starting over point, like got to start over? Where'd you go from there?
Well, yeah, I mean, the whole start over thing's for real. I'd quit JSO, so I didn't have a paycheck coming in.
Yep.
Right? And then I'm like, oh, shit. I mean, I had a bunch of money in the bank, so we had some reserves and whatnot. So it took me a full year to figure out what I was going to do next. I ended up starting to self-study some finance. I ended up, doing some investment stuff on my own and getting interested in it. And then I had a friend recruit me to Northwestern Mutual in 2000 and I think 13, 14, somewhere around there. So I'd been dabbling a little bit in finance, didn't know what Northwestern was. This guy was, best man at my wedding. I was the best man at his. So, I took his advice at the time and took the leap of faith. And, it was different. It was ultimately, what it was positioned as and what it turned out to be, in my opinion, were two different things. And we sold a ton of life insurance. But the good that came out of being there is it got my feet in the industry. It got my nose bloody. Completely different business model, completely different operation. So I honed in on that, and I honed in on a lot of my self-studying and taking courses and getting licensed and doing some extracurricular designations and things of that nature so that I could position myself to be where I'm at today. I didn't know quite where I would be, and I didn't know what it would look like, but I always knew, like, I get along with the rednecks. I get along with the guys who are on construction sites. I get along with guys who are in general contract. I get along with business owners who bust their ass and who aren't the traditional, 4-year college graduates.
Yeah.
The guys who literally bloodied their knuckles and just grinded their face off and figured it out over time. And those are the guys that I wanted to go work with.
Yeah.
And Northwestern gave me a little bit of that, but it didn't give me everything. And so ultimately, things ended there. I just decided to go, and I launched Tideland Consulting after thinking through it for 12 months, and we launched it officially January 1st of last year. Okay. And we've been in the game a little over 10 years in all, but this is our particular niche. We kind of gave it a rebirth last year.
Yeah, I got you. So you started your new company. Obviously, you weren't getting that. Probably wasn't the money that you weren't getting that was fulfilled. You weren't getting your fulfillment internally. I would assume. Is that correct?
There's just a lot of compliance involved in this world, right? Of financial planning and stuff. And when you work for a big conglomerate like that, it's thick.
Yeah.
It's thick. So I could have never done any of this planning or have the conversations that I'm having today there. It would have not have been approved.
Yeah, I got you. So you started your company, and I don't think it was, probably wasn't long after we met. Or, we met.
6 months.
6 months after that or so.
I think it was June.
Yeah. So you started your company. What was that like? Was it a thing where you went from having a paycheck to now not having a paycheck again, and now you got to make your way through it?
Ish, but not as it wasn't as hard as that. Like I planned on this transition.
Okay.
So this had been something that I had been internally kind of processing and designing, and then you visualize something, then the right people fall into place. And so one of my partners in this, Claudio Gambin, kind of came around, and another individual came around, and I started having some phone calls and some conversations, and one thing led to another. And December 31st, I was like, I quit, and January 1st, I'm starting. It was literally like the light switch, and just decided to do it and jump in full. And I think I had an office rented out within 7 days, and furniture delivered, and I just got to work.
Yeah,
got right to work.
Yeah, you've always been that person. It seems like that. No matter which direction you end up pivoting, you're grinding away that next day, pretty much.
Which is a curse.
Yeah, it can be. It can be, and I think that's something we'll probably touch on this here in a little bit. That can be a curse, and that I think both you and I have been going through and recognizing. We've both been reading the same book that's teaching us not to do that. So, you start your company. You probably get around some people that are really good mentors, really good to help push you in your life in the direction you need to go. What happens in that meantime? So you said January 2021?
January 1st of 22.
22. Okay.
22.
So 22, and what was your 22 year like? What was it? Because I would imagine I've known you now for a year, and I know the changes in life that we have both experienced within the last year. So what was 22 like, that first half of 22 before I met you?
Well, it was good. I think it forced molded me into what I needed to be, which was slow, deliberate.
Yeah.
I clearly wanted to get in here on the first and just start calling people, hey, this is what I'm doing now. Here's, and just start prospecting and letting all of my sphere know what I do, which I did a lot of.
Right.
but I was slow about it. And I think that's one major change that I've tried to make and implement is just slowing down on making decisions in the business, doing things. And again, dude, these are things that took my mentors years to get through my head, right? Because I'm the worst. I'm the worst. I just don't listen to shit, which is also changing. So that's cool. But this was not a very this was a very slow transition. And the first 6 months to me it felt like I was locked up in a psychiatric ward because everything internally about me was just like, why are you sitting down?
Yeah.
Run, right? Get through the door. Go. So for me, it was a huge learning curve the first 6 months. I don't think I started really producing revenue into the business until around April. So I'd spent several $100,000 getting the office launched and getting things situated, and so it was nice to have the resources to not have to work and produce income.
Yeah.
Because that truly would have gone against what I was trying to create anyway. And then working with some partners, Claudio Gambin and a few other people, God bless them. I'm sure they're fucking wanted to choke me out back then, but I just slowed down. And what that allowed me to do is really take the time to put things in place to get to where we are now.
Yeah.
And so that first 6 months, although I may not have made a lot of money, has probably 10x our revenue this year because I was able to deliberately think about everything.
Right. So you got started, got rolling. Took a couple months to be able to start getting that. Basically took a breath and said, "Hey, I'm going to roll into this and not just jump head first." So what happened then? I would say you said April, so a month or so later, you and I met, I believe, is
Yep.
about the time.
So and Claudio was supposed to go to that event. I think it was in June.
Yeah.
And he calls like, "Hey, there's an opportunity. Probably gonna be some good dudes." Scott obviously put that thing on. Scott Simons, who's one of our huge mentors, yours and mine.
Yep.
He put on this event called the Savage Initiative, which you and I went to. But that was just by fate. Claudio called one day. He's like, "Hey man, I can't make this thing. Can you go?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm down." So I came and didn't know shit. Didn't know any of y'all. But that wasn't a big issue. So what do we spend 3 or 4 or 5 days there? I forget. But
yeah, I think it was like 3 days.
We had a really good time.
I'm gonna be honest. Were you much of a people person, like networker, prior to that event?
Externally, yes. Internally, hell no.
Yeah.
I did it, and I used to do it because that's what I thought, client acquisition looked like.
Yeah.
That is what we were kind of taught, in the early days of Northwestern. Like, oh man, you can't make any money sitting here. Go get in front of people.
Yeah.
Go to networking events, and no trash talking or anything on realtors. But Jesus Christ, all they do is networking around Jacksonville, literally with each other all the time. So I was going to these events and I was seeing the same 65 real estate agents try to sell shit to each other, and I'm like, this is miserable.
Right.
And so networking to me back then was a nightmare. But I think just because I was in the military, I was in law enforcement, I'm able to adapt really quick in the environment so I can make it happen and make it look as if I'm comfortable and all that stuff. But internally, I could be like, I don't even like this guy or whatever. I hate this place or whatever the case is, super uncomfortable or whatnot. But now I love going out and talking because that truly I've figured out the art of that.
Right. So the reason why I bring that up is because I remember a day at the event. We were riding in this 20 passenger van, and you didn't talk much while we were the first couple days. And
I'm a watcher.
Yeah, I remember it was after. I think it was after the first day we got our asses handed to us, pretty much. Looking back, and you're just sitting there. You white knuckling the you were white knuckling the seat like I don't know if you were pissed off or what it was, but like, man, why the hell am I here type of thing. But I was like, dude, this guy is a freaking jerk. And I was like, who is this dude? And so you weren't like talking very much, but I think you, like you said, you're probably sitting there analyzing everybody, and seeing who everybody was probably. And I think the cool thing was is we had that first day. We all got to watch people get thrown around by the big old bear, Adam, and it was fun.
I think I got a million views on that video.
A million views. So
I think so. We're close to a million on that one.
So, all right, we had the event. We met some really cool people. Obviously, you and I, we got to hit it off, and we took an hour-long car ride back to the airport. From there, I think it was both Scott and I told you about Apex, and we were like, hey, dude, you need to look into this, and you kept questioning us about it and downplaying us, but. What's happened in the last year that's really changed in your life from that event? How's life gone so far? Where are you at today?
So I think MDM was in what month? I think MDM was in the same month.
Yeah.
Or a couple weeks after. It wasn't very long after. Which is $1 Million Mastermind put on by Ryan Stewman out in Texas. So I went there and I just met a shit ton of people. And I've vibed with 8 out of 10 of them, like immediately, which is new for me. And immediately, I think I joined right after that. And kind of like their middle layer, which was entrepreneurs. And that was really the first time I've gambled on myself to pay that kind of money to be in a mastermind or networking group, if you will, right? So I immediately kind of was like, oh, this is like a BNI, huh? When you guys were talking about it. Because there's a million BNIs here, and again, in my opinion, not hating on anyone out there who loves BNI, but here, in my experience, it was just the same people meeting with the same people to try to give referrals, and it didn't work.
Right.
So, for some it works. There's some people that I know in BNI still, and they just know how to work the system. So for them it works. They figured it out.
Right.
For me, it was, I just don't, when I'm networking, I don't talk about business. I hate talking about business. I just want to talk about people and you and learn your story and do we have anything in common?
Yeah.
And that, I think that's a lot of that has changed, in the past year. But so since then, MDM, I went into entrepreneurs. I think I stayed in that for like 4 months, and then I joined executives. Now that's it's a $60,000 commitment.
Yep.
And then I joined another group inside of Apex, another $25,000 commitment. So we're $100,000 a year in.
Yeah.
Getting myself in these rooms, and I'll tell you, it's the best decision I ever made.
Mm-hmm.
I've met some of the greatest people, and people that even if something tragic happened and Apex was to come and go or whatever the case may be, these dudes are staying around. Like it's this is a family type deal. And my business is, I don't know, we'll 10x this year.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
it's all from taking a chance. I'm gonna say it was faith that sent you to that event, a year ago, to Scott's event. Because if it wasn't for Claudio that said, "Hey, I can't go, you're going," probably wouldn't have happened.
No, probably not. Claudio would have showed up and realized what was going on, and he would have left.
Yeah.
100%
would have laughed.
He'll tell you. He's told me that. He's like, listen, if I would have gone there and realized what you guys were doing, I'd have left.
Yeah, that's
you guys. I'll see you at the bar tonight.
Yep.
So yeah, no, I mean, it is. It's a lot of just right place, right time.
Yep.
I also think a lot of it's me visioning this kind of shit for years.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Right. So it's a part of the book we're reading, right? The energy that you're putting out in the world. Even though I wasn't thinking about it in that light back then. But I mean, I can remember just like envisioning cars I would drive, envisioning planes I would fly in. And that shit's happening today.
Right. So.
Which is crazy.
You've had a huge change in life. I would say you may agree within the last year, and you've got clientele that's you're working with these very big, high volume clientele. I would say I'm on the low end of the spectrum of that for your clientele. And that's one thing that I got to say that I appreciate about you is, there was never a sell about it, to try to get, for you to sell your service to me. It was always a giver's mentality of, hey, I want to help you with this. I want to help you with this. And then eventually I was like, I got to start paying this dude. He's giving too much value to me, type of thing. And eventually became a client. And so I got to say that's one thing I appreciate about you and how you operate.
Yeah.
So, we both are in Apex. We both go to the same events pretty much. We hang around a lot of the same people. What's on the horizon? What's coming up? We're going to start wrapping this thing up. But what's on the future horizon? You're killing it in business. You're killing it with your family. I know y'all just went on a really cool vacation. We went on a Disney cruise together. Y'all just went to Hawaii. What's on the horizon?
I'll see you in a week at MDM,
Yep.
round 2.
Yep.
And then I come back, come back to Jacksonville Sunday, and I think we leave Wednesday for Destin for a week. The kids are out of school, so we're going to take them out for one of their probably several summer trips. It's cool because I get to work. I can work in the morning and then kick it through the afternoon with them. As far as work is concerned, man, we're just going to continue to grow. We're looking obviously to add some other advisors to the team, and help them create some wealth and some synergy within their own world. And
Yep.
we're always looking for back end fulfillment employees and team members. So, as far as business is concerned, we're on track to do what we said we were going to do this year. We're probably ahead of track. So, we're going to do a pretty deep audit next month and move the goalpost if we need to move the goalpost and reanalyze the last 6 months of the year. But we're just going to keep adding, man. We're going to keep building. We're focused on obviously the main business, and then there's some ancillary companies that we're already involved in, but there's also a few we want to launch. But we got to make sure that the foundation's steady enough before we get there.
Yeah. No, for sure. If you could leave, your best piece of advice that you've learned within the last year or so, what's your best piece of advice, to a young entrepreneur like me, even an older entrepreneur that's young in business, or even, they're 15, 20 years into business, just stuck in their old ways. What's your best piece of advice that you could give right now that you've learned, that you've implemented, that you could give them?
I think, the things that I hear, obviously, from the seat that I sit at for our clients,
Mm-hmm.
and it's crazy to think, but no one knows their numbers.
Yeah.
No one really, I say no one. There are people out there that know their numbers for sure, but for the most part, the people that we run with, a lot of the people that I work with. And this could be a personality trait. I have no idea, right? I haven't even analyzed it that deep, but just get to know your numbers.
Yeah.
Profit, loss, balance sheet, taxes. What are your liabilities? What are your accounts receivable? What are your accounts payable? And then what is your cash flow analysis? How are you spending money and utilizing dollars in the business?
Yeah.
So that's one thing, one of the major things, because I think without that, you can't really maximize your company, right? Because you really don't truly know what the financials are.
Mm-hmm.
And the other piece, and I think you could probably speak to this because we witnessed it, stick to your main thing.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure that your main business is absolutely bulletproof before you start adding on to these other projects.
Yeah.
Yes, they work. Yeah, sure. Like, whatever. We can use any example, but, like you and I were talking about, like, hey, we've got an opportunity to bring on a solar opportunity.
Yeah.
Well, good. Let's analyze the roofing company. Is the roofing company structurally ready for it? And for you guys, it is.
Yeah.
Right. But I think a lot of people just hear that, oh my God, I could add this and then add, extra income.
Yeah.
Or oh my God, I own a plumbing company. Why don't I start an HVAC? Because it's the same thing.
Right.
only do that if you're financially ready and you're not going to put that main company in a burden.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think a lot of people just blow right by that and launch the company and pray to God it works.
Well, I think so many people, and I won't harp on this too long, but I think so many people were probably like you were. That was me. We're just a bull going after it, going, and that hard work is what eventually prompted us to start a business. Like, hey, I can do this, right? But I would say probably most of your blue collar workers that are in the construction industry probably never had any formal school, never had people guiding and mentoring them to one, know their numbers. When you say know your numbers, like, what do you mean? Do I know my numbers? I know I got $100,000 sitting in the bank. That's all I need to know. I know at one point in time that's how I operated, and
we all did, all of us.
And it took getting around people. For me and Aaron, it took people like you to start pouring into us to say, "Hey, what are your numbers? Where are you at? How can we set things up better that will set you up for future success?" So you're not sitting here at age 55, 59, still trying to sell roofs, or much less even 45, 50. You've
Right.
got a business that is working for you, and you're not working for the business. And it takes people like you to be able to pour into, I would say, especially the blue collar community, the trade community, to get them to realize that. Because, like we said, most of those trade companies are the guys that were working with their hands that don't know anything about business. They just knew they could start one. And so,
Yeah, I mean, and they still do great work. They string it together really well, right?
Yeah.
And make it work. And I just think when you get to a certain point, you slow it down and you realize, like, holy shit, I just made a series of really good decisions. But at some point, we got to figure out, like, what fuel does this bitch really take?
right,
Can't just keep putting shit at it and expecting it to work. So
right, for sure.
that's what I mean. Like, even myself, I used to operate the same way. Like, bank
Right.
account says I got 50 grand. I need to buy this thing. It's 20 grand. I have enough money. Let me go buy it.
Yeah,
And that'll work for a while. It'll work.
yeah.
Until it doesn't.
Until you hit the growth, and so we get it. Man, I appreciate you coming on today, guys. Keith has been a phenomenal help in our businesses, not just businesses but personal as well. He's helped guide us in the right direction we need to go, and opening up the questions that we need to have to be able to realize, are we making the smart decisions in our business to where the business is not running us, we're actually running the business, or like they say, the inmates are running the asylum. Because we don't want the teams and the people that we have for us running us. We want to be able to run the teams in the business. And so, I appreciate you. I appreciate your friendship. Tell us where everybody can find you at. Whether it's Facebook, Instagram. How can they get a hold of you if they need your services? Want to look into that? Let us know.
Cell phone's best, 904-401-9327. Platform, all the Instagrams and stuff, I think, are Your Biz Advisor.
Okay. Your Biz Advisor, and then obviously your name on Facebook. And so
the old Facebook.
The Facebook. So if anybody would like to get a hold of him and just have does it cost anything to have just a consultation call with you?
No.
Obviously, you're looking for business owners. That's your ideal client, is business owners that are looking for growth.
Yeah.
What's your ideal client? If you don't mind just giving us that quick blurb.
Yeah, no, you're spot on. Business owners, growth oriented, right? Looking to do bigger and better. And then high income W-2 earners that may have some investment properties and things like that. We're able to assist in some things there that are a little non-traditional, but lower in tax brackets and stuff like that for those guys.
Okay. And it's not just guys. It's not just young business owners. I see him handle and deal with business owners that have been doing business for years, and they need a new guy that has a fresh mindset, to be able to handle their business as well. So it's not just the trade workers. It's not just, obviously you do really well with those people, but it's
because I don't have to wear a suit.
Show up in your built gear, pretty much. Well, hey, man,
built.
like I said, I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate your friendship, and I look forward to seeing you in a week and see where this thing goes.
Roger, appreciate you, bro.
Hey, thanks, guys, for watching today. If you don't mind, subscribe to the Growth Encounter, and we'll see you next time. Peace. Want to hear more? Subscribe to our channel. And always remember, the first step is to get comfortable with getting uncomfortable. I'll see you on the flip side.